Hello, and welcome to the Richmond News 2020 Provincial Candidate Debate via Zoom. This time around, we have candidates from the Richmond South riding. In the past, Richmond News has hosted or at least participated in all candidate meetings for elections at all levels of government. This year, obviously, that wasn't possible. However, we still felt it was essential that the citizens of Richmond have an opportunity to hear from the people vying to represent them in Victoria. When it comes to provincial and federal elections, many voters vote along party line, which is fine. But the strength of every party is made up by the strength of its individual representatives. This debate gives you the opportunity to assess each of those individuals on their own merit. Moreover, it gives each of the candidates an opportunity to address issues unique to Richmond and explain how their party's platform will play out in our community. This is our third debate, and we will be doing one for each of the four ridings. So just so you know what to expect over the next 30, 40 minutes or so, here is our agenda. We'll begin by giving each of the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves. We will then present questions under four main topics: healthcare, the Massey Tunnel, economic restart, and housing. We will follow that by a couple of questions that have been sent in by our readers. Finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to offer a final word. So with that, I hand the debate over to Maria Rantanen, our senior reporter, who will be moderating. Maria.
Thank you. So after 29 years in office, BC Liberal Linda Reid stepped down as the MLA in Richmond South Centre, a riding reconfigured from three others in the 2017 election. Since her departure, two candidates have come forward, one from each of the main parties, vying to win the seat in 2020. To start, both candidates will be given 45 seconds to introduce themselves, after which we'll go to questions prepared by the Richmond News and our readers. So we will start with Alexa Loo. You have 45 seconds. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alexa Loo, BC Liberal candidate for Richmond South Centre, and I'm excited to be here today. I'm a mother of two boys who are back in school. As many of you know, you went through a lot of serious consideration about sending your children back to school, just like I did. I'm also a chartered accountant. I'm a two-time Olympian, and I've been pleased to represent the people of Richmond and serve the people of Richmond as a two-time city councillor for the last 6 years. I grew up in Richmond, and my parents are still in the same house as when I was 2 weeks old. It's been my pleasure to be part of Richmond, and I look forward to working for you to build a hospital, to get the Massey crossing done, and to make things better for Richmond.
Thank you. And next, Henry Yao. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I want to take a moment to thank our host, Richmond News, for hosting this event. I also want to thank our moderator for actually inviting us and giving us intact. I do want to take a moment to thank our audience and, of course, acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of Coast Salish people. We thank them for allowing us to play, work, and thrive in the lovely ground. My name is Henry Yao. I'm honored to be a BC NDP candidate for Richmond South Centre riding. I'm excited to join John Horgan at BC NDP. For 16 years of BC Liberal government, a lot of things has been neglected. And I'm about to have a child. I have two elderly parents and a survival of cancer. And as all this has been compounded, there was one thing I have understood. We need to invest in British Columbia and people in Richmond South Centre riding. BC Liberal for 16 years has neglected Richmond, and we need a stronger voice at the legislature, which will remind the British Columbia government that Richmond, we need a hospital, we need to get our healthcare moving forward, education moving forward, seismic upgrade the rest of the schools, and ensure that Richmond has a brighter future and ready for a potential pandemic. We need to start invest early, and we need a government who understands how to move our British Columbia forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the Richmond News has prepared 4 questions for our candidates. Both candidates will have 90 seconds to answer the question, after which everyone will be given a chance for a 1-minute response. So our first question is on healthcare. Richmond has been waiting for more than a decade for a new hospital. Long-term care facilities are under pressure as our population ages, and those needing mental health services are underserved. So the question is, what concrete plans does your party have in place to ensure healthcare, long-term care, and mental health services into the future? And we're going to start with Henry Yao. You can answer first. You have 90 seconds.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the question. So we do understand healthcare is extremely important. As a new father going to be and the son of two elderly parents, it is something I'm worried about. We have seen 16 years of BC Liberal neglect, which has cut back on health services, including senior services, who have forced staff to work at multiple facilities, which led to the spread of COVID-19 in long-term health senior centers. We do understand the importance and we want to work together. BC NDP for the last 3.5 years under John Hogan's leadership, we have put together the plan for Richmond Hospital Q Tower. The business plan is ready. The capital budget for $22.9 billion in our 2020 budget is there. Money will go in 2021, shovel will go into the ground. We also want to emphasize that we are building the second medical schools so we can train the future generation and you have more doctors, more nurses ready to serve the community. We also want to ensure that people realize that we actually incorporated 21 new urgent primary care center and 10 more to come. What are we trying to do? To ensure everybody has a doctor they get to work with. We want to make sure healthcare is available, healthcare is up to date, and healthcare is prepared in case after the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to face another challenge. BC NDP and under John Hogan's leadership is getting ready to prepare a province to face the challenge in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. And we have a bit of technical stuff, so I'm going to do the 10-second warning, so just watch. Alexa, your turn to answer the question. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you very much for that question. We've all been living in Richmond for the last 3.5 years at least, and we've seen shovels in the ground for the new hospital that the NDP keep talking about. They have no money behind that plan. And as a matter of fact, the BC Liberals built 14 hospitals in their 16 years. So to suggest that they don't do anything is wrong. I used to sit on the Vancouver Coastal Health Liaison Committee, and I was working with the planners for the Lions healthcare facility for seniors, the Lions Manor. And that project was moving forward. It was going ahead. City staff was involved, and the NDP kiboshed that. So if you're wondering why the shovels aren't in the ground on Fenton and Place, that's why. The BC Liberals will be putting in $1.1 billion over the next 5 years to build 10,000 beds so that seniors who want can get private care beds so that they can prevent COVID, prevent other infection, and have a private room in a hospital. We will actually build the spaces. We're going to improve access to healthcare. So we'll be creating online booking for hospitals and doctors so that you can go and see your doctor. You can find where there's availability and get into a doctor. We're actually going to help you get the help that you need. We're going to increase help for mental health and addictions so that we're getting people the help that they need where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. And so we're going to give each of the candidates a chance to respond. So we will start. Henry, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Well, I would like to reply to her comments mentioning about 3.5 years. BC Liberal claimed for 2016 they actually had a hospital plan, but yet the 2017 provincial election, none of the candidates mentioned anything about Richmond Hospital. It's actually a Richmond NDP candidate continuously pushing and prioritizing Richmond Hospital as a priority. That has 16 years compared to our 3.5 years. BC NDP actually has a business plan ready and 22.9 capital planning budget, assuming she's an accountant, she should know about this. The money is ready to be allocated 2021 for a hospital upgrade. We actually also added Richmond Foundation, Richmond Youth Foundry to help providing youth mental health and addiction services like comprehensive and all-around services. I mentioned earlier, we already have 21 urgent primary care center already building in British Columbia and 10 more in their own way. The reality is BC NDP has already invested. BC Liberal are promising, and yet if you look at a 16 years record, what they did is cut back. That's the reason why we are not ready to deal with pandemic as much as we like.
Thank you. Alexa, it's your turn to respond.
I think what we need to look at is what we need for our seniors and what we need for our healthcare system. The BC Liberals are going to implement measures to make it safe for your family members to get in to visit people in the homes. We're also going to have a credit of up to $7,000 a year and up to $20,000 a year of housekeeping for home repairs and supportive care for people who want to stay home and be looked after. The key is how are we actually looking after people? And this is what we're going to do. We've got a solid plan to look after people and to actually build things. We have a history of actually getting the shovels in the ground and building it, not playing partisan lines and moving things around. We're actually going to put the shovels in the ground and get these things built and get the Lions Manor back on track and the Richmond Hospital going.
Thank you, Alexa. So our second question centers around the George Massey Tunnel replacement. The BC Liberals, when in government, set in motion a plan to build a 10-lane bridge to replace the tunnel. This plan, however, was opposed by the majority of local councils. When elected in 2017, the BC NDP scrapped the 10-lane bridge and proposed new options, delaying the process, but claiming their plans were more closely aligned with local communities. So our question is, to replace the aging George Massey Tunnel, do you prefer a second tunnel or a bridge, and why? Alexa, we're going to start with you. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you for that question. As we know, the Massey crossing is the biggest bottleneck in BC. We need to get people moving. We need to get families back to their families. We need to get goods across the Fraser River. We need to get goods to market, and people need to get where they're going. I support a bridge. We already had the plan in place. We have First Nations approval. We have the environmental done, and the engineering was done. Everything was ready to go. There was $95 million worth of preload and preparation work done, and then the NDP cost us $100 million to cancel those projects. $100 million of your tax dollar got thrown out the window. We need a crossing. We need to build a crossing for the future. We're going to have 1 million new people in the Lower Mainland in the next 15 years. We need those people to be able to get back home to their families after work. We need that to happen. The bridge would provide an opportunity for light rail transit, for rail transit and proper transit opportunities. You can bike across, you can walk across. Nobody goes for a nice walk through a tunnel. We also need to open up, look after the fish. A bridge goes over instead of through. Putting a tunnel under the water is actually stirring up the water, and it's wrecking the habitat for the fish. We had a plan in place. It would have been finished by 2023. The NDP, they're planning to have you sit in traffic for 10 more years.
Thank you, Alexa. And Henry, your 90 seconds.
Thank you so much for the question. Absolutely, we do talk about the importance of people. And the reality is, George Massey Corridor has become our biggest bottleneck, and we want to solve this problem. But this problem isn't an easy problem to solve. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar tax money funded project that requires the understanding and the consultation of all. When you have a city of Richmond council and majority says, no, this project doesn't work. When you have a mayor body says, this is a terrible idea. And when you have different people, environment group telling you your environmental consultation wasn't done properly. And when we have actual consultation, which I actually attend, hosted by BC Liberal, didn't give us option or consultation. They're telling us bridge is plenty, build it. That's not right. We're not being responsible to British Columbia, and we're not being responsible to people of Richmond South Centre. Why did NDP actually chose to take a step back? Because we need to make sure we do this right. Multi-billion-dollar investments shouldn't be taken lightly, and this is what BC Liberals doing. They promised right away again, despite opposition. They promised again right away without consultation. BC NDP, as soon as we come into government under John Horgan's leadership, we spend our first time having our minister coming to city council and consulting the councillors to understand and listen to the view. We need an elected official who listen to the people, to listen to the people of Richmond South Center and Richmond residents, and even Surrey and Delta. Let's work together and not just simply having a party says, this is my project, take it or leave it, and then using emotional to threaten people. I apologize. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexa, would you like to respond? You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. In Richmond, we have companies like London Drugs that have 900 people working at their head office in South Richmond, right near the tunnel. Those people are having trouble getting to work. And here's a company that's looking at relocating to Edmonton or somewhere where they can get their goods and their people moving. This is not okay that people are stuck in traffic over some political whim. Why do you even think Claire Trevena, Minister Trevena, is stepping down, not running again? She spent 3.5 years helping the NDP navel gaze, talk and talk and talk and talk and get nothing done. She couldn't even pull out a plan before this election was called. Why do you think she's stepping down? People need to get home from work. People need to get to work. Families need to get back together. Goods and services need to get moving. We need to get that corridor going, and we need to get Richmond busy again. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. And Henry, final response on this question. You have 60 seconds.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Absolutely. We need to get people moving. And I do want to remind the public that by putting the bridge again as a project, BC Liberal is setting everything back to square one and even risking federal budget. They are talking about they want to get people through, and yet their strategy is delaying the project itself. I do want to remind everybody, George Massey replacement project business plan is supposed to come together by the end of this year. It's ready to move forward. And the reality is she's talking about 900 people in Lemondrag, and we do want them to actually be able to get to work as efficiently as possible. But we also need to worry about, we don't want to turn Richmond into a major parking lot. BC NDP is talking because we care about people's voices. BC Liberal is thinking talking is the wrong thing to do. And this is what scares me. We have somebody who wants to be an elected official and didn't want to talk to people. I'm worried. Would you be worried?
Thank you, Henry. So moving on, our next topic is the economy. So we are living through a global pandemic, which early on shut down large parts of the economy, with the tourism and the hospitality industry in Richmond particularly hard hit. So our question is, what specific actions will your government take to restart the economy? And Henry, we'll start with you this time. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you so much. We do want to understand that COVID-19 and the pandemic has been a very challenging time for our families and our communities. BC NDP, we understand economy is a priority for our British Columbians, and we want to move forward with our economy and our strategies. We are dealing with one of the biggest and most complex and most unique health issue we're all facing today. BC NDP, we are actually committed to actually giving families $1,000 to start per family and $500 start for singles to help people alleviate from stress from financial burdens. We also have invested $300 million into hiring 7,000 more healthcare workers by creating jobs and actually beefing up our ability to provide better and higher quality services. We have over $300 million grant for 15,000 small, medium-sized businesses as they're dealing with this tough, difficult time. We have 15% tax rebate to help companies to purchase machineries and applications. And the reality is we are also encouraging small businesses to hiring new employees by providing additional grants. BC NDP under John Horgan's leadership does have a plan moving forward. And we're not just simply talking about dealing with economic issues. We want to incorporate a comprehensive strategy to protect British Columbia against COVID-19 as well. That's the reason why our economy plan incorporates beefing up our healthcare qualities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I've had to take over the time here, so. Alexa, it's your turn to answer the question. Go ahead, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. It's interesting to say that you're going to throw a little bit of money at people at the beginning of a pandemic. You throw someone $1,000, sure, it makes a difference that month. That money will be spent right away. We are going to reduce the PST to 0% in the first year and 3% in the second year. And that allows people to make their own decisions of how they're going to spend their money. It's going to make it easier for people to replace their hot water tank and to do the things that they need to do in their households. And it will save the average family $1,700 a year. So that's actually a better method than just throwing a little bit of money at them at the beginning that just gets spent and frittered. The small business income tax we're going to be removing, and that will allow businesses to decide where they're going to invest their money. So whether it's in a retraining of somebody or changing some of their processes and procedures or adding safety measures, that's their decision. It's the company's decision of how they should spend their money and how they're going to invest in their employees. And this provides more latitude for people to do that. The BC Liberal government is also going to establish an emergency pandemic response committee that will work with all the parties and the provincial health officer to help manage the current and future pandemics and accelerate the provincial aid supports for small businesses. Right now, we've seen the NDP announce that they're going to give a bunch of money. $5 billion was approved back in March, and the NDP held back a bunch of it as a political game. That's not okay. Families and businesses need support, and they need support now. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to make supports now and lasting support that last into the future to help get our economy going. We're also going to have the $10 a day childcare for low-income families and escalating a little bit for other families. That way it's not. Thank you.
And we are going to give both of you a chance to respond. This seems to be a hot topic and a lot to say. Henry, it's your turn to respond, 60 seconds.
All right, thank you so much. My colleague mentioned PST rebate, and the reality is it is actually a money only purchasing with actually complex items. We're really more worried about groceries, rent, where PST rebate doesn't really touch. They're talking about $1,700 per average, but it actually means further into benefiting individuals who actually have the money and yet leave a vulnerable population such as senior who are living on fixed income struggle with the financial cost of making everyday purchases. That's the reason why $1,000 per family and $500 per single on a one-time payment is designed to kickstart. This is not the end of our plan. This is the beginning of our plan. We also have exceeding an $8 billion investment to support people and kickstart our economy. We have protected 200,000 jobs. And of course, we also have supported 15,000 small and medium-sized businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And let's have 60 seconds still if you'd like to respond to Henry's comments.
Well, unlike the NDP who just like to add taxes, so they've added 23 new taxes in the last 3.5 years, or either added the tax or increased the tax in the last 3 years. And Henry should know, he's preparing to have a child. So you go buy your stroller, your diapers, your crib, your high chair, your pet food. All those things have PST on them. This is going to make a difference actually to your life, Henry. And so the BC Liberal Party will be appointing an independent fair tax commission to figure out which of those taxes we should really be getting rid of, get rid of some of them. And we're going to introduce a real speculation tax. It's not just going after a certain segment or an unfair segment of the population. It's interesting how the NDP actually didn't apply it to certain areas because that was where their ridings were. So we're going to make tax fair and create a level playing field, because I think that's what the people of Richmond want. We want a level playing field where we can thrive, do business, and know that we're treated the same as everybody else.
Thank you, Alexa. So our fourth question is on housing affordability and diversity. Middle-class families are moving farther out. Young people struggle to find affordable rental housing, and to say nothing of our most vulnerable residents struggling to keep a roof over their heads. So if elected to government, how will your party create greater housing diversity? Alexa, it's your turn to start. You have 90 seconds.
Well, creating housing diversity is a partnership with the municipalities and working with different zoning and those kind of projects. One of the main things we're going to do is increase affordability. So in bringing down creating affordable childcare creates more opportunity for people to be able to afford different things. We are also going to be working with different municipalities and building more housing, and those projects off the ground and the shovels in the ground.
Thank you. Henry, it's your turn to answer the question. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for this good question. Being a youth worker in the past, one of the important things I always understood is that young adults, young family need a place to start a family. And we need them to have a stable environment. BCNDP is committed to freeze the rent until 2021 and ensure rent increase matches the inflation rate cap later on afterwards. We're going to build massive home for BC projects that provide affordable housing across British Columbia. BCNDP, we also have done our best to ensure that we actually, control the rising cost of strata insurance. We have actually closed the loopholes for strata insurance and beat our regulatory bodies. We tasked the BC Financial Services Authority to investigate and find a new way to tackle the insurance and make sure it comes down. And give a quick second. And the reality is, BC Liberal is talking about $10 a day childcare. The reality is that BC NDP already started a project. We already have 25,000 families already being benefited from $10 per day childcare already, and this including families in Richmond South Centre already. We also talk about speculation tax. The reality is that speculation tax freed up 11,000 units in BC to put them into long-term rental housing. BC NDP understand the challenges, and we want to be there working with the young families.
Thank you, Henry. Alexa, you have 60 seconds to respond.
Well, the BC Liberals are going to do things actually at the policy level that do things. So we're going to create a new residential property subclass for rental housing for 3 or more units. I think the incentive here is to get people to want to rent out their space. If you know that you have skyrocketing strata insurance fees and that you can't then raise the rent to your renter, how do you, as the owner, be able to afford to rent your property to anybody else? So it's working with the rules and creating rules that make people want to rent their place and make it available to people. We're also going to require official community plans of municipalities to be reviewed every 5 years so that they can really look at and understand what the needs in their community are. In Richmond South Centre, the only way to create more affordable housing is to level some things and build some more. So unless we actually want to start tearing stuff down, that's not going to happen in a huge way. We have been successful, though, because some of the new projects coming in Richmond Centre are actually providing 10% affordable housing coming forward because of the work I've done on council and because of the work we're doing.
Thank you, Alexa. And Henry, you have the last chance to respond.
Thank you so much. So I do want to reflect my colleague's comment. She mentioned if there's a skyrocketing insurance increase, then we should allow a landlord to increase the rent. How is that making a life affordable for young adults? We need to address the actual issue is to find a way to lower the strata insurance, so people can actually live in an affordable environment. We also want to emphasize the simple fact that the speculation tax is blowing 11,000 rental units available for long-term rental units. Richmond and young families, immigrant families are struggling. They are looking for places where they can afford, and so many young families are forced out of the city. We cannot be looking at how to pass the buck of expenses down to the renters. Instead, we need to go to the root of the cause of issues such as strata insurance or other unnecessary expense, and finding ways through a dialogue, communication, and finding ways to fight down the cost. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So those were the questions that we had prepared at the Richmond News. We're going to move on to a few questions from readers. And the first one is actually linked to the last topic. This question came from John Roston, and he wrote, Richmond has a critical shortage of rental housing, and the city has refused to use the power given to it by the provincial government to designate all or part of a new housing development as rental tenure. Should the BC government intervene to require a substantial amount of rental housing in large developments? So I'll pose this to Henry first. Go ahead, you have 60 seconds.
I'm sorry, I'm starting? Perfect.
Yes.
So we understand rental is important. As we talked about the speculation tax, that actually has introduced 11,000 units into the long-term rental housing. If I have the honor to be a BC NDP MLA for representing Richmond South Centre, I will definitely bring this voice up and find a different way to ensure rentals are affordable for our long-term renters, for young families, immigrant families, and of course for our seniors who have a fixed income. The reality is, if I remember correctly, my colleague here actually was one of the only councillors who fought against the idea of having zoning of 100% rental units. And to me, that's a bit disturbing. The reality is the provincial government providing an option. It is not mandatory, and it gives us the ability to ask developers to create spaces dedicated for rental units and bring down rental costs. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Alexa, 60 seconds.
Thank you. The NDP promised that they were going to build 114,000 more affordable homes, and they've only opened 2,963 of them. So at that rate, they're going to open up 100. It's going to take them 100 years to get there. Downzoning property and making it only rental tenure actually reduces anybody's incentive to create the rental property. We've actually seen in Richmond developers go to final reading and walk away from the project and not actually start their project. I don't know if you've driven up through it, but there's a couple of projects. There's no shovels in the ground. And the reason there aren't is because it's not economical for them to do it. They'll wait until the economy happens. So it's all very good and well to zone it, but it's not actually going to get it built. If you want it built, you have to go through the proper channels and figure out how to make it economically viable. And that's what gets things built, is economically viable projects.
Thank you, Alexa. And the second question we have came from Andrew Wade, who's the Executive Director of the Richmond Arts Coalition. Again, both of you will have 60 seconds to answer. So this is his question. Due to the inability to have crowds gather during the pandemic, the arts sector is going to be heavily impacted until a vaccine receives widespread usage. How does your government intend to support artists, art organizations, and arts facilities and prevent a permanent loss of performance spaces? So Alexa, you can start. You have 60 seconds.
Well, the BC Liberal government is working with all the different stakeholders to figure out the best ways to move forward in this platform. It's been hard for a lot of these organizations to figure out how the best way to move forward is and to get their art out to the people. And I think there's the opportunity now to create grants and to create programs then for the arts and culture groups to be able to still continue to engage the public and to have the arts showcase properly.
Thank you. And Henry, 60 seconds.
Thank you so much. And the reality is you and I both know this COVID-19 has kept us locked away in our houses. And we are trying our best to respect each other and respect everybody's healthcare. But the lack of socialization has been punishing both all emotionally and physically. We do understand that for 16 years, BC Liberal neglect under the government, where we have all the BC Liberal MLAs, funding will cut back and continue to be taken away. As a BC, hopefully, if I have the honor to be a BC NDP MLA for Richmond South Centre riding, I will bring your voice down with the government. I will try our best to reignite our services and the opportunity for artists to express themselves. And the reality is, art is a huge component of our mental health, and it is one of our priority to ensure our society has the best mental health care, such as the Richmond Youth Foundry facilities and our comprehensive addiction services. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So our third question is from Daniel Lam, and he writes, the COVID-19 pandemic has led to a rise in anti-Asian sentiments throughout my community. As MLA, what would you do to combat the anti-Asian racism faced by so many in Richmond, including myself? And Henry, you may go first. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you so much for sharing this question. And it is unfortunate that we are facing so many unnecessary discrimination at this time of COVID-19 and pandemic. It is time for us to work together and appreciate one another's uniqueness and expertise. I want to take this moment to remind all public and the viewers that a lot of Chinese community in Richmond are the first ones start putting a face mask on. And we are the first one realizing that COVID-19 is spreading and first one to remind everybody to start washing their hands and using hand sanitizers. Different culture and different community from diverse perspective brings so much great wisdom and uniqueness that we need to embrace it. That's why if I do have an office, I'm dedicated to ensure everybody who's different language set coming to our door will be serviced and will do our best to ensure whatever voice they have, whatever perspective they have will be shared. And we will bring the importance of combating racism, and we also stand the Human Rights Tribunal. Oh, sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And Alexa, your turn, 60 seconds.
Thank you. I think we've seen a lot of people getting more and more anxious throughout this whole COVID-19 situation. We've seen anti-Semitic, we've seen anti-Black, anti-Asian, we've seen a lot of things throughout this. And I think what we really need to do is be bringing people back together. We need to have proper protocols for health protocols so people feel safe, so they feel more comfortable in coming together in whatever size group or online platforms that they can. Once we're together and we're learning about each other and spending time together, those anti-anything start falling away because we become one community and we're one community and we hold together as that one community. And I think increasing the mental health supports is going to be a huge, huge piece in moving forward. We have a lot of people who've been going through a lot of stress and they're ready to lash out at anyone over anything. And so it might be anti-Asian today, it might be something else tomorrow. And I think what we need to be doing is really coming together as a community and listening to each other and hearing each other and looking after each other, because that's when we break down those barriers. And I will also be committing to having a Chinese speaking person in my constituency office, because unfortunately my Chinese isn't that good right now.
Thank you, Alexa. And we have one final question sent in by our reader, Lindsay Hemstappet. I hope I'm saying that correctly, from the Richmond South Centre riding. And she's asking, this is what she asks: I'd like to know what will be done to skyrocketing condo insurance premiums with reduced coverage. And let's start with Henry on that one. Sorry, Alexa, you can go first.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. And I know that this has been top of mind for everyone. So certainly we've seen with ICBC that the provincial government is looking at, the BC Liberals are looking to open up that to competition. And so now the question is, how do we also fix the skyrocketing strata rental or strata insurance, pardon me. We're all seeing it. I live in a strata. Everybody I know lives in a strata, and we're all seeing this. And this is something that's going to have to happen at a policy level. So we're going to need some good policy coming forward and some good opportunities to figure out how we do cross insurance from one group to another, or something bigger within BC. So we've got a place in Richmond. Yes, we've got weird rules because of our diking and rules and flood issues. And I think that's also an opportunity to work with the municipality to talk about how we have really good diking and how we're actually better prepared.
Thank you. And Henry, 60 seconds.
Thank you so much. Like my colleague here, I also live in a strata, and it is one of the most challenging issues we're facing nowadays. The skyrocketing strata cost has been an issue that we need to address. Thankfully, our government has already been taking many steps towards fixing the skyrocketing strata cost. My apologies on this one. We started, first of all, tying up all the loopholes associated with strata insurance. We have commissioned the BC Financial Services to look into how we can actually lower it down. And also to emphasize that we are tackling the rising cost of strata insurance, and if a rate doesn't uncorrected by the end of 2021, we'll develop a public strata insurance option to ensure that we can actually offer affordable strata cost for our homeowner and renters. In the end, we need to make life more affordable for all of British Columbians. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. So thank you so much to both of you for answering questions, both from the Richmond News and from our readers. So at this point, I'd like to give you an opportunity to wrap up. Each of you has 1 minute for closing remarks, and we'll start with Henry Yao, who's running for the BC NDP. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. My name is Henry Yao again. I'm honored to be a BC NDP candidate for Richmond South Centre riding. I'm very excited to join John Horgan and BC NDP to continue to serve Richmond. For 16 years of BC Liberal neglect of our city, even though we had all of BC Liberal MLAs, Richmond was left behind. If you look at a hospital, they had 16 years to build it and they did not build it. And the reality is, all my colleague here mentioned so much stuff about when you come together and be one people and talk to each other. And yet, if you look at a Massey Tunnel corridor replacement, it is a project bulldozed through without asking for consultation or even ignoring a consultation. I encourage her and encourage everybody to understand that we need an MLA who can be a voice and who will listen to the British Columbian, Richmond South Centre Riding West people, residents. Together, we can overcome this challenge and pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. And BC Liberal candidate, again, 60 seconds, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Alexa Loo. I'm delighted to be your BC Liberal candidate for Richmond South Centre, and I ask for your vote on October 24th. As we know, the Massey Tunnel is a huge issue, and 60% of traffic diverts into Richmond. So people thinking that we're just moving a traffic jam around is the same as those people not believing that there's climate change. The BC Liberal government is committed to increasing affordability by lowering taxes, increasing affordable childcare, increasing the number of beds available and rooms available for seniors in care homes, and getting the Richmond Hospital built. We will put the funds behind it, and we will put the shovels in the ground. I'm Alexa Loo. Please vote for me on October 24th.
So thank you again to our candidates for taking part in this All Candidates Forum for Richmond South Centre. I am Maria Rantanen. Eve Edmonds, our editor, has the final word.
Well, thank you, Maria, and thank you so much to our candidates for participating in this debate in particular, but also for just putting yourselves forward as candidates. It's not a small job, but it's critical in keeping our democratic process vibrant. Finally, I want to thank all of you who tuned in to watch this debate. I hope you found it helpful in not just deciding who to vote for, but also in understanding some of our community's key issues and considering best way forward. Thank you and good night.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for having us.